Well, it is great to have you with us on this Monday evening. Let's start with Tottenham then, whose majority shareholder, ENIC, the company owned by the Joe Lewis Trust Fund, has said the club is not for sale and that they have rejected two separate preliminary expressions of interest for its stake in the club. That message has been reiterated by the club's CEO, Vinai Venkatesham.
Well, I think it's really fair to say that it was big news last week with the announcement on Thursday that Daniel is leaving the club. But what I would say is that the club is well organised for succession. So we have a very strong executive team in place. And whilst it might feel like a slightly strange thing to say to the external world, although it's big news, inside the club it really is business as usual. But I really wanted to start today by paying tribute to Daniel. I mean, what he has done at this football club over the last 25 years is extraordinary. He has played a huge part in the transformation of the club. And there are so many examples: the training centre, the stadium, the media centre that we're just sitting outside now. His contribution is there for all to see, and I think his legacy really is extraordinary. For me personally, obviously I was expecting that I was going to be working with Daniel for many years. It's ended up only being a few months, but he's been a wonderful support and counsel to me during that period, and I feel really settled in. And I think also at a time like this, it's really natural to pause and look back and reflect, but I also know in my job it's really important to look forward, and this is a new era for the club under new leadership, completely backed by a majority shareholder, the Lewis family, so we can feel optimistic and ambitious for the future as well.
Can you tell me a little bit about what the family have said to you at the moment? What's been their messaging to you?
Well, first and foremost, I know the Lewis family really well. I think it's important for our supporters to know that they're very, very passionate about Tottenham Hotspur and they're ambitious for the club. And when I talk about their ambition, what they're really focused on is ensuring that everything that we do across the complete breadth of the club really centres back and is focused on giving our men's team and our women's team the best chance to be successful on the pitch over the long term. So that's their laser focus, all around being successful on the pitch. They know, of course, that we operate in a very competitive environment and that there are a number of other teams that have the exact same ambitions we have to compete to win the biggest trophies in the game. So we know it's not easy, and we know that there's hard work ahead, but that absolutely is the focus. They're also focused on stability. They know there's been lots of change at the club, and now it's time for some calm and for some stability. And finally, they believe and trust in the people that we have working in the organisation. So their model is all about empowering the people we have on the ground to deliver against the ambition they have, and of course the ambition that we all share.
Straight away there was talk of a takeover.
Yes.
Can you just go into a little bit there about what the club stance is on that, and what is the response to that talk so far?
Yeah, I've seen that very quickly, as you say, there's been a lot of newspaper articles and a lot of media speculation around takeover, so I can be really clear on this. So the Lewis family are really clear. They see their involvement in Tottenham Hotspur being long-term, and they see their involvement continuing through the generations. We made a statement very late last night, and the statement, I hope, was unambiguously clear that Tottenham Hotspur is not for sale.
Carver, start with you then. It feels like the message is pretty clear. Look, the club, by no circumstances, it is not for sale.
I mean, the chief executive there is being totally clear. Spurs are not for sale, but a lot has happened over the past 3-4 days. We've had the situation where, out of the blue, the executive chairman of Spurs, Mr. Tottenham, Daniel Levy, has left the club. Then last night, just before midnight on a Sunday, Spurs released a statement saying the club is not for sale, but we have had two groups approach us saying that they're interested in buying the club. Now, because 14% of Tottenham's shares are owned by private investors, these two groups have to come out and say whether they intend to bid for Tottenham or not. And they have to do that by October the 5th. Now, very, very quickly, Amanda Staveley and PCP International Financial, who are one of the interested parties, came out this morning and said, we're not going to bid for Tottenham. But so far, we haven't heard anything from the other interested party, which is an Asian consortium led by Dr. Roger Kennedy and a Chinese businessman called Wing Fai Eng, who owns a TikTok rival called Trill in China. So very interesting to see what they have to say, because they have until October the 5th to come out and say either we want to bid to buy Tottenham or we're not intending to bid.
So you've got a few weeks then. Going to be an interesting few weeks. From what you make of this whole situation, do you feel like there have been conversations going on in the background, even when Levy was, still at the club before he stepped down, about a potential sale?
Look, what we do know is, over the past 12 months or so, Tottenham have engaged the services of an investment bank, and the investment bank has been tasked with trying to find some external investors. So we know for a fact that Tottenham have been looking for potential new investors. Now, that doesn't mean that the club is for sale. Perhaps they just want to sell a stake in the club and use that money to invest in their squad or refinance the debt they took on to build their magnificent new stadium. So at the same time as saying the club is not for sale, we can say that they have been looking for outside investment.
What do you make of the whole situation? Because Daniel Levy was at the club for so long, close to 25 years. He was very much part of the furniture. It feels like there's been a bit of a range of reaction from Tottenham Hotspur fans.
Yeah, it's crazy because they're always protesting against Daniel Levy. They want him out, and now he's out. Some of the fans and probably not. No, we didn't want him out. We wanted him to stay. Listen, being an owner of the football club, I think it's one of the hardest jobs in football, and you put a lot of money in, and you've got to realise sometimes it is a business, and you are going to lose a lot of money. But I think Daniel Levy's a smart businessman, and I think the time's right for him to move on and that club kick on. I do think he's appointed some top managers, but it hasn't worked out at Tottenham. I think the Tottenham fans have been frustrated as well with the income of players. Like even in the summer where there was a lot of talk they wanted Eze, and then they couldn't get the Eze deal over the line, and then he ended up going to their rivals.
Of course, that's
Arsenal.
the player you mentioned.
Of course, I have to mention it because Tottenham fans are still hurting and Arsenal fans are happy. But I was going to say to Carvey, because obviously he's still got shares in that club. Will we still see Daniel Levy involved with Tottenham, or will he finish there?
Well, Daniel Levy is a very, very good businessman.
Yeah, of course.
When he was first involved with Tottenham were worth around £80 million. When he left, they were worth more than £3 billion.
Wow.
And he's such a good businessman that even though he's no longer the executive chairman, he still owns shares in Tottenham, because ENIC own 86% of Tottenham and Daniel Levy and his family own 30% of ENIC. So even though he's not the chairman anymore, he still has a very, very significant stake in the club, which is worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds.
Yeah. Let's throw it over to Dave then, because just off what Carvey's saying there, Dave, it's fair to say that, there's been success off the pitch for Daniel Levy, but maybe not so much on the pitch. Is that fair to say?
I think that's probably fair to say from a Tottenham Hotspur fan point of view as well. I think when you talk about Daniel Levy leaving Spurs, he is a major figure in Premier League history, but his legacy is a complicated one. On the pitch, he was a hands-on chair, appointing 14 permanent managers. His best, though, was surely Mauricio Pochettino. During his time at the club, they signed players that were key to success, like Heung-min Son, like Dele Alli as well. They achieved their highest league finish of second in 2016-17. But the issues have come from persistent underachievement, really. Only 2 trophies won under Daniel Levy, including the Europa League last season. And despite the number of seasons in Europe, they failed to achieve sustainable success. Off the pitch, as Carvey was talking about there's been undoubted success. The value of the club has more than doubled in just the last decade alone. Early this year, Forbes valued the club at £2.6 billion. The club has gone through a real transformation. There's a new stadium and a new training ground. Finance group Deloitte rated their wage-to-revenue ratio at 42% last year. Good for the accounts, but it's been a continual problem for supporters who believe that there is room to manoeuvre on transfers and the wage structure too. Then come the off-field protests. There was Spurs' involvement in the failed European Super League, regular fan disquiet over the last few years as well around ticket prices and concessions. Now, whatever you think of the outgoing chair, an answer on Daniel Levy is not straightforward.
Not straightforward, is it? How do you look at, I suppose, his legacy, what he's achieved at the club, and are they in a strong position now? Because I think his enduring legacy is going to be the stadium, the training ground, the facilities. Yes, he got that silverware as well, winning the Europa League. You mentioned it a minute ago, it had a good transfer window, really.
No, they did. it could have been a better transfer window, but I think it was a really good transfer window in the end. I think the stadium is probably one of the best stadiums in the Premier League. The training ground, I was speaking to Carve, is amazing. So behind the scenes there, what he's done there has been fantastic. But first and foremost, you're judged on the team winning trophies. And in the years that he's been there, they've only won 2 trophies, which for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club is not good enough. If you look at Arsenal, me and Carve helped me on this, I think Arsenal have won 16 trophies. So it's totally different. It's totally different. So I think his legacy, obviously, with the football club and the training ground, he's done a fantastic job there. But I just think sometimes all good things have to come to an end. It weren't all good. There were some good moments in it.
That's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Things do come to an end. They move on. As I say, I still think he'll play a part of the football club, but now the club can kick on. It's a huge football club. You go to that stadium, I've been there many a times. It's one of the best stadiums in the Premier League. So, yeah, a lot of people can be critical of Daniel Levy because of the transfers and probably some of the managers he's brought in, but Dave just alluded to it. I think Pochettino was probably the best manager out of the lot of them, finishing second in the league, likes of Dele Alli and Sonu, players we'd not really heard of, and they brought them in and made them, Premier League top players as well. So, yeah, I give credit to Daniel Levy, and everyone knows I've got a soft spot for Tottenham because I used to ball boy there when I was a youngster, so I've always had a soft spot.
You're a Spurs fan.
I'd say Palace on number 1 and then Tottenham at 2.
Right, we'll say
there
that
you go.
OK, you used the word a minute ago when you talk about Daniel Levy, businessman, which is exactly what he is and was, this incredible businessman. Are we going to see a different approach now in terms of how they go about things as a club?
I don't think it's going to be that different. And the reason I say that is because we live in an era of financial regulation in football. So it doesn't matter how rich you are, even if Tottenham were to be sold to the richest man in the world, somebody from Qatar, for instance, he could not come in and splash the cash because of PSR, because of FFP. We've got the situation this summer, for instance, PSG, one of the richest clubs in the world, they have sold the best goalkeeper in the world, Gianluigi Donnarumma, because they couldn't afford really to give him a new contract. So I would say be careful what you wish for if you're a Tottenham fan thinking, oh, we want ENIC out, we want new owners in. Because I think when new owners come in, things won't be that different in the transfer market. OK, they may increase that wages to turnover ratio because at the moment, everybody in football knows. Yep. If you're a Premier League player, you know that Tottenham don't pay the top wages. Yeah. So maybe that could change. Maybe they could start paying
drastically,
players, or what Arsenal pay some players more than £200,000 a week. Man City, Man United. Yeah. So they could start getting to that level. That could change, but overall, I think it would only be small tweaks. It wouldn't be a major revolution.
Big overhauls. OK, right. Well, a little reminder for you that next up for Spurs, it is West Ham in the Saturday night football. Live coverage of that begins at 5 o'clock for you on Sky Sports Premier League.